Next on Eyewitness News at 11, points, fines, and surcharges, all the penalties you could face for a speeding ticket. But where does that money go? Emil Taligi has those answers. Eyewitness News starts in 60 seconds.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, your forecast first.
Hey, good evening to you. I'm meteorologist Craig Flint. Seeing the sky clear out, still kind of a bit humid, but that's going to be changing as that number right there, the dew point, will be dropping. So we're in the mid-60s now. I think we're going to end up right around 60-ish as the sky clears out, turning less humid by the time you wake up tomorrow morning. Complete forecast coming up. Eyewitness News at 11 starts right now.
This is Eyewitness News at 11 on WUTR.
Tonight's top stories at 11, Varick Street turned pedestrian only over the weekend. Hear from local businesses on how they thought it went. And the Girl Scouts of New York Penn received a grant to help provide resources for scouts in need. We'll bring you the details. Plus, a bill that could change surcharges on speeding tickets in New York State, how that affects you. Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for Eyewitness News at 11. I'm Shelby Pay. Eyewitness News has been following the status of the Varick Street trial, testing whether or not to make Varick Street pedestrian only on weekends. Our reporter Josh Riley has an update.
Last weekend, Varick Street, home to many of Utica's favorite bars and restaurants, was closed to vehicle traffic between the hours of 8 p.m. and 3 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. Eyewitness News has been following this story and went back to Varick Street today to gauge the reaction from businesses to the street closure. None of the businesses that we spoke to today were willing to talk to us on the record, but several managers of Varick Street establishments were not thrilled with the trial or its rollout. Two separate businesses stated that their Friday and Saturday lunch and dinner service had been impacted by the road closure, and that the signage that had been posted notifying the public of the temporary parking ban did not state specific times the ban would be in effect. One of the managers we spoke to also indicated that they were concerned about customers with temporary or permanent physical disabilities being able to reach the restaurant when convenient street-side parking was banned. A third business said that, although they did not feel their business had been impacted, drivers making deliveries to their restaurant had been confused by the unclear signage and had parked their delivery vehicles further away from the restaurant than was necessary, because they were concerned about getting ticketed while making their deliveries. Eyewitness News also contacted the mayor's office to clarify whether the trial would be extended for a second weekend and whether the issues with unclear signage would be fixed. The mayor was unable to speak with us today regarding Varick Street and has yet to decide whether the trial will be extended. Reporting from Utica, Josh Riley, Eyewitness News, first at 10.
Points, fines, and surcharges, all the penalties you could face for a speeding ticket. And those fees can quickly add up. But where does that money go? Our Capitol correspondent Emil Taligi has those answers and the latest on a bill that would cap surcharges.
Right now, New York automatically imposes a surcharge of $88 or $93 depending on whether the driver was in a city or a town. This is in addition to the fine for the speeding ticket.
It could be a $45 speeding ticket. It ends up costing, in some cases, $200 or $300 because of the surcharges. That seems to me like it's a system that's more focused on revenue generation rather than fairness and appropriateness.
Assemblymember Angelo Santa Barbara has introduced a bill that would cap surcharges to a maximum 10% of the original fine. He says right now the surcharges just don't make sense.
When you think of a surcharge, you think of a percentage or a portion of what the original amount is. But in this case, we're seeing 100, 200, 300% or even higher at the end of the day.
But what exactly are surcharges? Ryan McCall, attorney with Tully Rinke, explains.
Typically, surcharges are somewhat done either at the town or county level. It really depends on what county you're in. Most of the time, once you get those types of tickets, right, they'll use a surcharge to cover court fees, things like that.
McCall says that money also helps pay court staff and adds to the state's general fund, often putting money into the state-run programs. When I asked McCall if he thought this bill could be a success,
I'm somewhat skeptical just based on my knowledge of New York State and how I know how reliant they are on these surcharges in addition to other things to be able to pay court staff, things like that. But it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. I think it would be a welcome sight for a lot of traffic speeders out there.
reporting in Albany, Amel Talegi.
And good news for taxpayers, the state is capping the property tax levy growth at 2% for all municipalities that operate on a calendar fiscal year. It's the same tax levy cap the state announced back in January for all school districts. Capitol correspondent Jamie DeLine explains more.
Since 2012, the state set a limit on the amount by which school districts and local governments can increase the property tax levy. And the property tax levy is your total amount that's billed to taxpayers in the locality.
That cap is once again set at 2%. Simonia Brown, Assistant Deputy Comptroller, explains the reasoning behind having a cap.
The idea was to provide property tax relief to minimize or limit the burden on taxpayers. And in addition, it also provides additional budget transparency for residents in a locality or in a school district who have to pay taxes associated with school budgets.
She says this can impact how much resources schools have for programs. In a statement, New York State United Teachers said, quote, NYSA has long advocated for alternate funding strategies that empower local communities to make the best decisions for their schools without a cap placed at the state level. School districts, however, can override the cap if they get 60% voter approval.
And if they decide that, well, they think their school district should be spending more, they want their students in their schools to get more programming beyond the tax cap, they have the opportunity to do that through a budget, through an override.
Reporting in Albany, I'm Jamie DeLine.
Be sure to get our CNY homepage app to stay up to date on all the latest local news. Before we go to break, here's a preview of your weather with Chief Meteorologist Craig Flint.
Shelby, the sky clearing out, setting the stage for what should be what I'm calling a top 5 type day tomorrow. The complete forecast.
Your eyewitness weather forecast.
Hey, good evening to you. I'm meteorologist Craig Flint. So we had those showers and storms that developed earlier. Those are a thing of the past. Also, the smoke has cleared out, and now as we go through the rest of the night, the humidity levels will start to lower. So that's a look live downtown right now. At the top of the hour, Griffiths, it's 64. The dew point right there with it, so wouldn't be surprised, especially if you got a rain shower today, if there's some patchy fog with no wind. And these two numbers, the dew point and temperature, will actually drop together, and I think we're going to land somewhere around 60 and turning less humid overnight. Then tomorrow, like I said, lots of sunshine, fresher air, less humidity, temperature right around 80, which is pretty close to what it should be for this time of year. So we had those thunder showers that popped up. Some of them got a little raucous earlier down in eastern Madison County, northwestern Otsego County, some damaging thunderstorms there earlier this evening. Even here locally, some trees and wires down on Herkimer Road from those thunderstorms that rolled through early. But that's it. They're moving on, and the sky is clearing out. As we take a look at live Doppler radar right now, just a few showers far, far eastern New York State. That's it. 67 now. In town, 65 Marcy, mid-60s. Rome, Norway, 64. Ilion, 67. 65 Cooperstown, 62 Richfield Springs, where they had a gusty thunderstorm earlier. And up at the Adirondacks into the low end, mid-60s. Here's what to expect. So holy smokes! Well, we're getting rid of that. Cold front coming through. Thank that guy tonight. Clears the air. Less humidity, fresher air, as mentioned on Wednesday. So there's a look at the snapshot of the smoke. Those darker yellows and oranges and reds are moving away, getting out of town. So nice, clean, fresh air tomorrow. And again, we're watching the showers exit as well as some fair weather moves in for tomorrow. I think when we look back on the summer, this is probably going to be one of the best days because we're going to have a good deal of sunshine. It's not humid, and we'll just have that fresh air to enjoy, and you can see that here on Futurecast. We click the hours away. Could be a little bit of patchy light fog early. Then partly to mostly sunny, less humid. Again, temperatures by the afternoon right around 80-ish. Now the heat and humidity returns as we go into Thursday. You'll notice that becoming warmer, more humid. I think most of the day of Thursday is dry. We get towards the evening though and dinner time. A few showers and thunderstorms develop. Some of those spill over into Friday, but it's not all day on Friday. So 80 tomorrow, beautiful, pick of the week. Warmer, more humid with late day storms Thursday, 85. Scattered storms and showers around Friday, but again, not all day. It will turn less humid by late Friday. Could be a lingering shower Saturday, but the sky clears. I think that's going to set the stage for what should be a pretty nice weekend. Comfortable, mid-70s Saturday, 82 on Sunday. Induction weekend this weekend down in Cooperstown. The weather looks good, warmer, with a few more showers and thunderstorms by Tuesday. All right, I guess I'm tossing a break. Stay right there. We'll be right back. Yeah. Okay.
You're watching Eyewitness News at 11 on WUTR.
Youth mental health has become an increasingly prominent issue in recent years. Our reporter Josh Riley spoke with the Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Girl Scout New York Penn to learn more about a grant they have received to help provide resources for Scouts in need.
Everyone has to deal with mental health concerns from time to time, and in past years, this has extended to children as well as adults. Institutions that work with children have had to learn how to provide support for those in need, and one such institution is the Girl Scouts. For the past 2 years, adult volunteers working with the Girl Scouts here in New York have been able to receive training in youth mental health first aid. When you hear about first aid, you probably find yourself thinking about scrapes and cuts and not counseling. Here is Jamie Alvarez, the Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Girl Scouts New York Penn, to tell us more about what youth mental health first aid is.
So youth mental health first aid is designed to teach adults who regularly work with young people how to help an adolescent ages 12 to 18 who is experiencing a mental health crisis or an addiction challenge, and just to be able to be part of that early intervention. This training it assists us with efforts to train both council staff. We have 2 youth mental health first aid trainers on staff, and then they in turn train our adult volunteers as they support the mental well-being of the girls in our program.
So with that in mind, I asked Jamie about how this program would be affecting the Girl Scouts here in Oneida County.
Oneida County is one of the counties that we serve across our council footprint here. I think the impact will be very, positive. We have, as I said, 2 YMHFA instructors on staff, and they're going to be delivering training to any volunteers who want to be part of that later this month. We do it virtually.
And if you want to get involved and help the Scouts on their mission to improve the mental health of the girls and young women in Oneida County's troops, here's what you have to do to become part of what they are doing.
They have to obviously be a member of our council. They need to be an adult volunteer with Girl Scouts of Nye Penn Pathways. We are always looking for trusted adult volunteers to become troop leaders and to become adult members of our leadership program. So if you go to gsnypenn.org and click join, you can learn more about becoming adult volunteer and get involved.
Reporting from Utica, Josh Riley, Eyewitness News.
In the aftermath of the torrential rains that hit the state in the last week, not only were roadways negatively impacted, so were railways. Many Mohawk Valley residents take the ride to Albany Rensselaer Amtrak station to travel down to New York City. That line was shut down for a while, but Amtrak is slowly restoring service to upstate areas. James De La Fuente tells us about the timetable.
Right now, riders on the Adirondack line can only travel from New York City to the Albany Rensselaer train station. But beginning Monday, that service will be extended to Schenectady and Saratoga Springs. Amtrak customers trying to visit the North Country and Montreal just can't catch a break this summer. There have been many disruptions because of weather, fires, and restrictions on Canadian tracks. Assemblyman Angelo Santa Barbara asked Amtrak to get the trains moving again. In a letter today, the Assemblymember thanked Amtrak for the limited resumption of service. He says, "While I'm pleased to see the restoration of service to Saratoga Springs, it is essential that we work towards a prompt resolution to restore service at least to points north as far as Plattsburgh to benefit upstate New York's residents and visitors." Yet he says the resumption of service is incomplete and upstate tourism is suffering from the effects.
This is part of our economy. This supports our economy. It's very critical that we have restoration of the service in the state of New York.
Steve Strauss, executive director of Empire State Passengers Association, says things could take some time to fully restore the Adirondack line back to full service.
There's some questions about whether there's a place to turn the train around properly or to store the train on a spare track for a number of hours before it would change direction. And then lastly, there are federal regulations that limit how long an individual train crew can operate the train without a mandated rest period.
And I have reached out to Amtrak to see when full service of the Adirondack line is expected to return, and I am awaiting that response. Reporting in Saratoga Springs, James De La Fuente, News 10, ABC.
Just ahead tonight, sports director Brennan Miller tells us about the Utica University high school football camp that recently started. Stay with us.
Yeah, check 1, 2, 3. Good evening. I'm Brennan Miller with Eyewitness Sports. Today, I'm dressed like a hot dog.
A tan.
Eyewitness Sports right now.
Good evening. I'm Brendan Miller with Eyewitness Sports. The high school football season, and with that, the 2023 fall high school sports season is underway as of yesterday, at least unofficially. The start of the year for the high school football players in the Mohawk Valley is marked by the yearly tradition of the Utica University High School Football Camp. The camp, which is hosted by the Pioneers every July, is a way for players and coaches from around the area to see their teams stack up against other local squads and to see who among their own players rises to the top. Last year, the camp saw 10 teams and hundreds of players all competing in their uppers, or helmets and shoulder pads, allowing for light contact and the simulation of real games. Tonight will be its second night, running from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, each day ending with the best offense and defense of the day going head-to-head in a goal line scenario, while the other squads surround the playing area and shout words of, let's call it, encouragement. Also under the lights tonight, the New York State Legion Baseball District 5 tournament was underway supposedly at Murnane Field. It did end up getting moved to Duluth in Rome. And the victor of one of tonight's contests is going to find themselves in the District 5 championship game. The 8-team double elimination tournament had already been through its first 2 rounds, and the story right now is the underdog, Adrian Post, who was a 5 seed, defeated 4th seeded Moran Post, and then were able to get past top seeded Smith Post in the second round by a single run. They were playing in the nightcap of the winner's side of the bracket tonight against the other yet-to-be-beaten squad, Utica Post. Utica also with a pair of wins, one against a higher-seeded team. As the 3 seed, they defeated New Hartford, the 6 in the first round, and then second-seeded Whitestown in the second. That game did not have a final score as of yet. It started late at 8:30 with the games being moved from Murnane to Duluth. So the winner there has the advantage of going into the championship. Meanwhile, on the side of the bracket that contains teams with already one loss, Whitestown and Moran started their game at 6 o'clock tonight, and that one finishes 7-4. They were supposed to play yesterday, but due to air quality and the contest postponed, it was postponed to tonight. The winner is going to go against Smith Post, who were able to play last night and eliminated New Hartford by a score of 4-3 in the quarterfinals. That's all for Eyewitness Sports. Check out cmyhomepage.com for the top sports stories. Some more Eyewitness News coming up right after the break.
Eyewitness News continues on WUTR.
Now to a significant new development in the special counsel's 2020 election interference investigation. Former President Donald Trump says he has received a letter from special counsel Jack Smith informing him that he is a target of the federal criminal probe into his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election results. ABC's Justin Finch is following the story from Washington.
ABC News has learned former President Donald Trump has received a letter from special counsel Jack Smith's office informing him that he is a target of the Justice Department's criminal investigation of the deadly Capitol attack on January 6th and efforts to interfere with the 2020 election.
This is exactly what we saw in the documents case. For example, we knew that Trump got a target letter days before he was indicted. This is typically what federal prosecutors do to alert somebody that there is an ultimate indictment coming.
The former president confirming on his social media platform that he received the letter Sunday night and that he has just days to report to the grand jury if he chooses to testify before it. Sources tell ABC News federal prosecutors question witnesses about efforts to encourage so-called fake electors to submit alternate electoral votes for Trump in key states that he had lost to President Joe Biden. Trump has long insisted that he has done nothing wrong. This is now the second target letter Trump has received from special counsel Jack Smith. Smith also sent one to Trump before his indictment in the investigation into Trump's alleged mishandling of national security records after leaving the White House and alleged efforts to obstruct the government's efforts to retrieve them.
We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone.
Trump was indicted on 37 criminal counts, including willful retention of classified materials. He pleaded not guilty to all charges. And a court hearing in that classified records case is scheduled for today in Florida. Justin Finch, ABC News, Washington.
We'll close out the broadcast when we return.
All right, welcome back. One last look at the forecast so you know before you go. So tomorrow when you wake up, it's down near 60, upper 50s, fresher air. Beautiful day tomorrow. I expect a good deal of sunshine from start to finish, less humid. Temperatures right around 80 degrees. Let's go down the road here and talk about the 7-day forecast. So heat humidity returns Thursday with scattered storms probably late in the afternoon and evening. Scattered storms, but not all day Friday. It will turn less humid. That sets us up for a pretty good looking weekend. Shelby, all yours.
Sounds good. Thanks, Craig. And thank you for staying up with us tonight. We'll see you back here again tomorrow. Have a great night.